Alright, this is a quick video on how it works. So SEO, how do you get your website found online? How do you get people to find you? I want to try and just give a rundown on more or less how Google figures out who to show and which companies show up online, especially when it comes to small businesses. The reason why it's important that we focus on that is, so SEO, it's an acronym for search engine optimization. A search engine is, or Bing, or Yahoo, or DuckDuckGo. So anybody that gets onto one of these websites, they have a search bar, and then you type in the thing that you want to type in, and then you hit go. Press the little button, and then it searches for that thing. That goes back to this thing called a database that does all kinds of crazy stuff. I could explain it, but it shoots it over to here, and then Google or any of these others sends back a list of results. So here's number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on down the line. This is a search engine. We're going to call this the engine for now. So how do we optimize search engine optimization? How do we make your company show up in any of these search engines? Anything that anyone, Safari, whatever they click on to find something online, if you optimize your company from a digital platform perspective, you can increase the chances that you're not showing up on the top 10, let alone everybody else that's not on the first page of that search engine. Instead, what can we do to get you found on that search engine when people are looking for your services? So SEO starts off with this idea of search engine optimization, which has probably 3 to 4 main pieces of the pie that all have different weights to them. So if we do a ton of work right here, that's great. You're not going to get found as much as if we did work right there and right here. And then, yeah, we can start doing some stuff here and start doing some stuff here. And then the chances of you getting found is more at like 80 to 90% versus if we just did this little thing, that's like 10%. So we're going to jump into more or less how, like, the big buckets of what that pie looks like. So we have a pie that Google has an algorithm, and they don't give this publicly to let people understand, or people like a digital agency or consultancy or freelancer. We don't really know exactly how it works, but we can take reference from a lot of these other websites. That's a computer, by the way. So there's a website, there's another website, there's all these people that are searching and they're finding different websites. We can make our best guess based on what people are searching and what is actually showing up inside of the search results. So let's say you search for a thing and then you hit go, it gives you a result. That result is Google's best guess at which companies, here's one company, here's another company, here's another company, which ones should we put on the first page of Google. So the algorithm, we're going to split it up into 2 or 3, maybe 4 things. You have your website, you have your Google business profile, you have things that are outside of that, like Better Business Bureau, Yelp, maybe Facebook, all kinds of other places that are pointing back to your website. There's also other websites that are not things like citations. Like, here's a list of all of the plumbers in Colorado. That could be a website, and yeah, that points back to you. But instead, this is a company that is maybe distributing shark bites and that plumbing explicit website points back to you. There's a lot of these other websites that don't just list, hey, here's all the plumbers. This is an actual company or another company that does like HVAC, and they don't do frozen water repair. They might say, you know what, these guys are awesome. Go back to that website. So we've got this thing called your website, your Google Business Profile, and all of the stuff that exists outside of your website, outside of your Google Business Profile. And by the way, any of the like Yelps or Bings or are pulling the same kind of information from your Google Business Profile. So this is actually incredibly important, even if you're not explicitly on Google, because they push their data all over the place. The next piece of it would be this thing called keywords. So this is somewhat confusing, because if I go into Google and then I have a search bar and I say plumber near me, that will give me a certain amount of companies that show up for what I just searched for, plumber near me. They'll say, okay, I think these are the best companies that we should show you. That is based on where you're located, as well as the other pieces that they put into their algorithm, which are not weighted equally, where some things have more importance and some things have less importance. The keywords are very different. So if I say, let's say we're in Denver, if I say plumber Denver, I'm going to get a Google page that shows me certain results based off of that. This is crazy, crazy. If I say plumbers Denver, I'll get a different page with different search results. Maybe you have like one or two that's kind of the same, but this text right here is a keyword. So when we say word, keyword, it's actually what people put into a search bar, whether it's Google or Bing or Safari or Yahoo or whatever. What is that phrase that they're putting in, and who should we show in that search result? This becomes very important because the intent of the person is incredibly important for Google, whether or not they're looking to like buy something like a water filter, or they're looking for hire a company to install a water filter or fix, or can I do it myself? So there's a lot of nuances to how Google and everybody else looks at what is somebody actually putting in to look for. After they give you those results, are you looking to buy something on Amazon? Are you looking to hire a company? Or are you looking for information? So we've got Amazon, I want to buy something. I want to hire a company that is likely close to me. Or am I looking for information so I can do it myself? So they split things into a different number of buckets depending on what that actual search term happens to be. And based on the way your website has all of the text and the images and the people that come to it previously, what are they doing? Is this the best thing to put in that top spot on Google for what that person is searching for? Now we're going to jump into the big buckets that we're looking at. So we have your website, you have your Google Business Profile. It shows a fancy image, it shows your hours of operation, it shows your services, it shows all kinds of stuff. That typically relates to a map. So if I'm looking for something in my area, like a contractor near me or a fast food place near me, they're going to show you this map section. That is different than somebody that's looking, or that they would show you. So you've got a map section, and then you have top websites that relate back to that search term. When you look at anything that you search online, you're going to have ads. So if I say plumber near me, let's do that. Google is getting paid from this company to show up at the very top of that page, whether it's on your phone or on a computer, either way, these guys are paying money to show up at the very top. Work can be done to show you in the map where these top 3 companies are getting paid for free. Like, that is very exciting. That's where a lot of our work comes in. Additionally, you have a number of results underneath of here's another company, here's another company, here's another company, and then down here, after they show you a number of these, they're going to show you more ads. So the hope is that when somebody is searching for that term, Google is saying, hey, if you click on this link, Google's going to make money. Google's going to make money if you click on anything up here. Google's going to make money down here. Everything in between is free. Okay? So in order to get into that free space where you're not paying money to show up at the very tip top or the very bottom, and by the way, 80% of people will not do this and not do this. A lot of the people go here if they're looking for a company in their area, and then based on what's shown down here, they'll likely scroll past this and choose one of these. So this is where we focus when it comes to search engine optimization, and then SEO. Where does that search engine, regardless of what it is, can we get you to show up on page 1? Because anything after page 1, 2 through 100, is irrelevant. The way that that happens is we have your website, your Google business profile, and these things that point back to you. One of those, are you showing up on Yelp and Better Business Bureau and Facebook and everywhere else? Do those things connect back to you? Additionally, do we have other websites that are also pointing back to you? The website in and of itself, Google looks at and says, is this a trustworthy website? Now, if you have a website, so here's your homepage, about, services, and contact, they say, that's great. You have a website with 4 pages, home, about, services, contact. Good, great, and dandy. That's kind of like a brochure, and they say, not super important. If instead you have a website and it's got chapters, like a chapter book, it's got an index, it's got sections, everything is laid out, you could say, hey, you know what? This website has their homepage, their services page, a locations page, other services, and then underneath each of those pages, we have not just one page of all of your services. So here's like service A, B, C, and D, but also A points back to this page. We've got a new page for B. So we've got a small amount right here for each of these. And then all of those go to another page. And then those pages are interlinked. We've got a bunch of locations. We've got information on each of these services that now point back to the intent, whether we're looking for info, or I gotta hire somebody, or I want to buy something. If all of these things start interlinking back and forth, Google looks at this and says, you know what? This is actually more trustworthy, because instead of having this 4-page pamphlet of home, about, services, and contact, I now have a book. And it's not just a flimsy book, but there's all these pages inside of it. Each of those web pages, home, we've got a services page that says we have this service and that service and another service, and we do all of these cool things. And then all of those point to additional pages. And then also we serve these certain locations. And then you've got a locations page that shows here's our primary, and then here's where else we serve. We'll drive to you. But then also we have additional pages. All of these things get stacked together like a book. And so Google looks at this and says, hey, this is a flimsy website, this is a trustworthy website. They give you a green check mark and say, yeah, let's show this company on the first page of Google at the very top. Additionally, there's a popularity contest going on. So you have your website, and then you have a lot of other websites. So it is kind of like a popularity contest on Google. Now there's different like social groups, back to your high school days, of is this trustworthy? Does everybody like this? Do we have just the teachers that say, hey, this guy is great? So think of this as all of the like LinkedIn and Facebook and Yelp and Better Business Bureau, all of these guys are pointing back to you. Okay, great. But what if also you have a number of other groups of people or websites that are also pointing back, saying, you know what, this website, this company is legitimate. And then also we have things like news outlets and public relations, and let's go news outlets, public relations, and then like suppliers. So if you've got suppliers that are doing business with additional other plumbers, and they're selling shark bites here and they're selling shark bites, they send you juice or authority because this is a trustworthy website and it's going to other trustworthy websites. You've got additional sites that are pointing back to you, and you have everybody that's saying, yeah, these guys exist and it's a real thing. And then you have another bucket of these things called directories that say, hey, here's a list of all of the best plumbers, and you're on that list. Now that's pointing back to you as well. All of a sudden Google says, you know what, you have a website that is now more legitimate. It's got a lot more authority to it because we've got a lot more that we can read. All of their AI goes through it, reads it all, and says, oh yeah, these guys are legitimate. They're not just a flimsy 4-page website. Also, we have a lot of other places that are pointing back to their website, whether it's your Better Business Bureau, your LinkedIn's, people that say, hey, here's a list of all of the companies that do these things, and or similar tangential companies that are pointing back to you, as well as like other things like your public relations or news links. All of those pieces point back to you. So this ends up being, in some sense, twofold, where you have your website in and of itself. How authoritative is that? And then what do things look like outside of your website that now point back to your website, including especially your Google Business Profile?